What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com as well as ESPN Kansas City. My name is Daniel Courtwright, and there's no Sean Kellerman right beside me. He's in a better place. He's actually not in a better place. He's in Chapel Hill right now. I wouldn't say Chapel Hill's better than Lawrence. He is going to be helping out with the Learfield broadcast out in Chapel Hill, taking over for the silent assassin, Steve Kincaid. So I'll be taking you through the rest of the week. We got a great show for you. A lot of audio, a lot of pressers today. We're going to be opening up the show talking about KU women's basketball. I was at the game as they took on the formerly UMKC Roos, now the Kansas City Roos. It was a good game in the second half. I will say that a lot of really good stuff that you could pull out of this game. Free throws were an issue, and we'll get more in depth about the KU women's basketball team as this segment goes along. Also going to hear from S'Mya Nichols and Regan Williams, the two stars of the night, and then obviously Coach Brandon Schneider post game after the victory over the Kansas City Roos. It was a 74-64 victory. Probably wanted a little bit more separation there between Kansas City and Kansas, the sixth ranked team preseason in the Summit League. After that, going to be hearing from Kansas defensive coordinator DK McDonald. He was made available to the media on Tuesday, so really excited to hear what Coach DK has to say about the improvements of his defense, what he saw out of the defense against Oklahoma State, which some good, some bad. And then at 10:40, we're going to be hearing from Kansas head coach Bill Self. He was made available to the media yesterday as he was previewing North Carolina, so really insightful press conference there, hearing from the two-time national champion and Hall of Fame head coach Bill Self. After that, first guest alert, first time on the show. He's a journalism student. He works for the UDK. I sit by this kid at football games. The kid knows ball. So I'm going to have him on the show. It's Ben Hooke from UDK, University Daily, Kansas. Really excited for Ben to be coming on the show for the first time. I had a lot of conversations with him off air, but this is the first time we're actually having him on the show. So really excited about that. Also, after Ben Hooke, going to be hearing from a couple of KU football players. Marcus Calvin didn't have a barbell in his weight room in high school. I actually got a chance to talk to him about that. Talk to him about him doing some field work instead and how that kind of helped him. Also talked a little basketball. He played on the AAU circuit for a long time. So it was really exciting to hear from Marcus Calvin, one of the best personalities on the KU football team. Also, Dean Miller, got a chance to sit down with him as well. And then going to be doing Thursday night football game picks. It's going to be Raiders, Broncos. Raiders, they're 9.5-point dogs. Broncos looking okay. This is obviously huge for AFC West contention. If the Raiders actually win, this could help the Kansas City Chiefs potentially. So really looking forward to this game tonight for the Raiders Broncos. Going to be an interesting one for sure because Geno Smith is a bad quarterback. Let's go ahead and get it started with some KU women's basketball talk. I was at the game yesterday. Kansas defeats the Kansas City Roos 74-64. A lot of stuff to get into. I wanted to talk about this off the bat. So Jalea Davis, she had 29 and 8 against Fort Hays State the previous game. This game, Jalea Davis only played 15 minutes and 55 seconds. She went 4 for 6 from the field, which is pretty good. 2 for 8 from the free throw line. That's not good. She had 10 points total. She got in foul trouble early. I believe there was like 6:45, maybe 6:50 left in the first quarter when she got her second foul. Had to come out of the game immediately. The starting five, it was S'Mya, Libby, Jalea, and then Lily Meister. The Lily Meister got the start over Regan Williams, and this is important to note because Regan Williams came up big in this game. Regan Williams actually had to come in, and there's a lot of rotation in this as well. And I actually talked to Brandon about this after the game. Talked about like, hey, were you just working on rotations or what was going on? Because Elle Evans only played 17 minutes, and she only played, I believe, 7 minutes in the last half of the game, and he thought Elle Evans made a lot of mistakes, and I thought so too, right? I think she needs to get a little bit more, a little bit stronger with the ball. This isn't the same Elle Evans that we saw from last year. Elle Evans, she hasn't been super hot from three. She only had 4 points against Fort Hays State. She had 9 points in this game. She went 3 for 3 from the three, and I believe she hit all three of those in the fourth quarter when she finally came back in. So with Elle not playing up to her standards, you're really starting to see a lot of those depth pieces that we talked about with this Kansas squad. And it's interesting because there's only 12 girls on this team, right? So it's crazy to think that with 12 girls, you have more depth than you did last year, but you absolutely do. Jalea, she's going to be your best player, at least in the front court, by far. She had 29 and 8, like I said, against Fort Hays State. S'Mya obviously is the head of the snake because she's the junior and she's, the all Big 12. You know, one of the top, I would say, 25 to 30 players in the nation as of right now. I mean, when you see S'Mya out there, you see just a different animal, right? She takes over games. But with Jalea, that she has the potential to be like a WNBA type of player. Like she has the size, she's got the strength. I mean, she can dunk a volleyball. She's a tremendous athlete. And with her going out early, you Brandon had to go deep into the depth early, right? So he brought in Regan Williams, who was actually wearing like a shoulder brace. So she might have been dealing with some kind of injury. Regan comes in and has a tremendous game. Regan Williams, she wound up going 8 for 12 from the field. She had 18 points total, 8 rebounds. So very close to having a double double from Regan Williams coming off the bench when they needed her, right? And Lily Meister, she wound up getting the start, and Lily had a good game as well. She had 8 points, 9 rebounds, 3 for 4 from the field. Now with Lily Meister, you can tell she's a big body down there, and that's something that Kansas kind of lacked last year. It's interesting because the Lily Meister and Reagan are the same height, but it's abundantly clear that Lily Meister has longer arms and is a little bit better at getting defensive rebounds, at finishing around the basket than Regan Williams is. And I think Lily Meister is relatively stronger, I think, than Regan Williams is. But it's interesting because Regan, she was thrown to the wolves last year as a freshman, had to start 6'3", had to start at the 5 spot, and she was going up against Sedona Prince, like girls who were like 6'7", like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", around that height, and she did a relatively good job for only being 6'3", right? And I think it's important. Like it could be definitely hit or miss when it comes to players like Reagan having to be thrown in there, and there were some games last year where she definitely struggled, right? But I think it was good for her to gain that experience, and for her to be able to come off the bench, I think is really endearing because a lot of people who started their freshman year and then all of a sudden they get essentially recruited over and now they're going to be coming off the bench. Some people might not take that too well. But Reagan was asked about this after the game, and she said, "Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm starting. It doesn't matter if I'm coming off the bench. Whenever I'm out there, I'm going to be trying to make an impact." And she certainly did. Like I said, she was the best player at least for the majority of the game. S'Mya came on late. She only had 5 points in the first half. S'Mya wound up with 21 points, had a very, very good game down the stretch. She again just took over, right? And I think that's really important to note. You saw a lot of the other freshmen out there. Libby had a good game, I think, on the defensive end of the ball and the facilitating end of the ball. She didn't have the stats to back it up. But Libby Fandel is going to be a problem this year. I think once her shots start falling, once she's able to gain a little bit more confidence in terms of driving, in terms of pull-ups, in terms of dishes, she's going to be a major part of this team, and we're already seeing that as of right now, right? I mean, Libby. She only had 2 points on the night, 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from the 3-point line, but when she's out there, she makes a difference. And I think that's important to note. So keep your eye out on Libby Fandel. But the story of this game is Regan Williams not starting the home opener in the regular season and just absolutely taking over when they needed her to, because Jalea is going to be that person down low. You can expect anywhere between 18 to 20 points from Jalea probably a night, right? But when she gets in foul trouble like this, and it's not even, it's not really her fault. And I thought a lot of them were not great, right? Because, like I said, just under 7 minutes, she got her second foul. Then in the second quarter, she comes back in, gets a foul within like a couple of minutes. So she had 3, I believe, going into halftime. Or no, it might have been, yeah, I think she was 3 going into halftime. And then right away, she gets her 4th in the first 15 seconds of the second half. So you're without Jalea for a lot of this game. So you have to depend on those secondary front court players like Regan, like Nadira El Tayeb, for example. Tatiana Brown got some play too, right? There were a lot of girls in that front court who got some play who, I'm just going to say it, aren't nearly as good as Jalea. And they did a great job of stepping up, right? I think Regan did a fantastic job of stepping up. And I think it's interesting because Regan is only a sophomore. This is her first, this is her first regular season game as a sophomore, and you feel like she's already a leader on this team, and you feel like she has that veteran presence just because of how much she played last year and how she was thrown to the wolves and how she handled it from last year. So I think that's so important to have Regan to be able to, kind of be at your disposal, I guess, because Lily Meister is tall and long, and that's what you need, down low, even though she's, like I said, the same height as Regan, she's longer and lengthier, and I think has better post moves down low, a little bit stronger, I think, than Regan. And Lily Meister had an excellent game, like I said, but Regan coming in was absolutely huge. But yeah, so that was pretty much the story of the night. The other story, and we asked S'Mya and Regan and Brandon after the game about this, is free throws. Kansas went 9 for 21 from the free throw line. And I actually asked both S'Mya and Regan and Brandon about this. Like, hey man, just kind of, talk about the free throws and what you saw. All of them said that will never happen again. It wasn't even like hey, yeah, it was a bad night and we're gonna go back. It basically, they nipped it in the bud. They said that's unacceptable. That will never happen again. And I love that. Jalea, by the way, like I said, 2 for 8 from the free throw line. Immediately after the game, she goes out back on a James Naismith court and starts shooting free throws. So I think that's important to see the hunger from a young girl like that, who is brand new to the program, a true freshman who is presumed to be one of, if not your best player, at least in the front court, going back out there and working on the thing that she absolutely needs to work on. Right. I think that's incredibly important. So shout out to Jalea Davis for actually doing that. And look, a couple of those fouls were, not great, right? I think 3 of her 4 fouls were offensive, right? Because she was putting her shoulder down and girls were flying. It's because that's just because she's so much bigger and stronger than a lot of these girls. I was telling people off air, like I went to Big 12 Media Days and I got a nice little interview with Jalea. And I was like, man, she could kick my butt. Like she's such a force on the court, even off the court, that it's intimidating to other girls. And you can see that the way that she puts the ball down, does a power dribble, and gets under the basket. I thought a few of those, at least a couple of the offensive fouls, should not have been called offensive fouls. But I think it's important to note that the girls who were able to step up did it. And obviously it's a tall task, right? If your number gets called, like Regan, who could have very easily been salty about not starting, she wasn't, and she didn't care. She went in there and she did what needed to be done. Like I said, with 18 points, 8 rebounds, a tremendous game from Regan Williams. We actually heard from S'Mya Nichols and Regan Williams after the game, to ask about quite a bit of stuff from that game as Kansas wins 74-64 against Kansas City Roos. Let's hear S'Mya Nichols and Regan Williams right now.
S'Mya, cramps? Is that what's going on there?
Yes, right on the landing.
Okay. All good now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Hey, I wonder if you could talk about Regan's night. She started so much last year, played a big role, and then coming off the bench now and giving you that. What do you What do you make of that as a luxury and how good she was tonight?
Yeah, we're blessed to have a deep bench, and I mean, even more blessed to have Regan come off the bench for us because she's easily starter package. I think that she brought great energy tonight, and she brought like the energy boost that we needed. Clearly Leah had a tough night with just fouls in general, and I think that, I mean, Regan showed up and played out for her and a team. You're welcome, sweetie.
Regan, does it matter to you? Starter, first off the bench, last off the bench. Does that any of that matter to you and how you play?
Nope. Love my coach, love my teammates, trust, whatever he has me do, I'll do it. I don't really starting, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll, just want to win.
Sure.
So,
Regan, Coach talked about how you have the ability to, pick up different parts of your game that, you think you need to improve on. What do you think you improved on most this offseason?
3-point shooting. That for sure. I made one last year, but worked hard over the summer, have this new confidence, so super excited to see what it does throughout the season.
So Maya, how fast do you guys want to play?
We want to play extremely fast. The best way to play fast, though, is to get stops. So clearly we barely did that today. But, yeah.
Does that fit? Do you think that fits everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have the best personnel to play fast, but all our 4s and 5s have the ability to sprint down the court, run. We also have really good shooters in the three-point or mid-range. So I feel like as we keep practicing together, keeping our chemistry going, you'll see it.
You mentioned Jalea.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you tell her, hey,
Oh,
it
yeah.
happens?
No, for real. Yeah, that is normal. I mean, it wasn't her game. She got a couple early fouls, and we've all been in that position before, and she'll adjust for sure. She's smart.
Do you like to see, I mean, obviously you don't want her to get taken out of her game by that, but do you like to see that she's bothered by that and expects maybe to score 29 every night?
I mean, it's good to see that she cares and that she wants to shake back, and you saw the effort in her as well, just wanting to shake back and get back into the game. I'm telling you, she's probably shooting free throws right now. Yes.
Talk about the free throw shooting in general. You guys were 9 for 21. Is that something that Coach Brandon has already talked to you guys about, or is that going to be like a point of emphasis for the rest of this week?
That's not normal, and that probably will never happen again. That's all I have to say about that. It's not us, anyways.
Yeah.
Anything else for ladies?
S'Mya Nichols with 21 points. Regan Williams with 18 points in this one. I wanted to talk about this, by the way. Imani Bennett for Kansas City had 29 points, 10 of 23 from the field, 6 for 8 from the three-point line. She's going to be a problem. And she potentially, and I hate to even talk about this because it's whatever, but she could potentially be a hot commodity in the transfer portal if she has another year left. I guess I haven't really looked into that, but she's a very, very solid player. I mean, she was just absolutely making everything. Kansas City was playing faster than this Kansas team, and you actually heard S'Mya and Regan asked about that. I believe it was Matt Tate who asked a question of like, how fast do you guys want to play? And they're like, very fast. But they didn't play as fast as Kansas City did yesterday. Now they're a more talented team. They're a taller team. They're a better shooting team, but they didn't play as fast. And I think that could be potentially an issue for this Kansas women's basketball squad heading into more of the regular season, more of the non-con, and into Big 12 play. So they really need to improve on their speed of play and on the defensive side of the ball, especially in that guard spot, because you cannot have somebody like Imani Bennett going 10 for 23 from the field for 29 points. They also went plus minus. They went 0 on the rebounds. Kansas City had 36 rebounds. Kansas had 36 rebounds. You can't do that when I would say your average height is probably 4 to 5 inches taller than the entirety of Kansas City's roster. So you got to be able to pull down those rebounds, and that starts, with the bigs down low. Regan had a fantastic game. Lily had a fantastic game. Jalea wasn't in there to get those rebounds as much. You got to get those rebounds, and that's how you're going to win games. Brandon Schneider was asked after the game about a lot of stuff too. Got to hear from him post game. Let's hear everything that Brandon Schneider had to say right now.
Brandon, is there anything you look for in a season opener, and did you see that tonight?
Well, I think I don't know if there's obviously things that we were looking for in terms of when you go back to our exhibition game. I thought our transition defense in the first half in that game was really poor, and we worked hard on it. And I thought there were times tonight it was significantly better, and then even transition offense. Our outlets were much cleaner. They were deeper. We got a lot more in transition when we got stops. So those were some positives, but I think it's a lot of new players in their first game, and it's you just got to get out there and play and work your way through some ups and downs.
How fast do you envision your team playing this year?
If we get stops,
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yeah.
But tonight we had to take it out of the net, far too much.
With Elle, she was relatively limited in that third quarter. What were you seeing out of her in that first half? And was that just kind of like a figuring out rotations kind of thing? Or
No, I think she made way too many mistakes, and that's why she was over there with us. And but I thought handled it the right way, came back and really responded late in the game and made some big shots, which is what you want a veteran to do. So I credit her for that. She didn't have her best night, but down the stretch, made big plays for us.
When you mentioned so many new players, do you think this is what some games might just look like early this season, having to work through some of these mistakes?
Well, I think the like a starting lineup this early is not in Sharpie. I think we've got to work through some things, try some different lineups, see what kind of lineup gets us off to the best start. Because we slow start tonight, slow start in the Hayes game. And some of that probably was early foul troubles with Jalea.
How do you think Jalea responded to that early foul trouble?
I thought she responded okay. I think what's hard, and I will compare S'Mya even back to a Tyana Jackson, is when you get in foul trouble and you're really an aggressive offensive player, it's hard to play the same way with the hesitancy of getting an offensive foul. And so she's got to play with more discipline on defense, but I think offensively just keep being aggressive.
What'd you make of the free throw shooting today?
That we didn't make them. We'll shoot them much better than that. We work on it a lot, and we have players that shot it really well all preseason. So I think it was just a night that we didn't make them.
Regan certainly had some games like she did tonight last year. How good was it to see night one of year two for her?
Yeah, I think her and S'Mya obviously were the most consistent all night, and then I thought Elle came in and made some big plays, and then I thought Lily Meister was really big in key moments. So it's Regan showed tonight that she has some experience.
Coach, you mentioned S'Mya, and just what did you see out of her tonight and her evolution going into year three as point guard of this team?
I think we need to be real careful of taking her for granted. I think she's, without question, one of the best players in the country, and we have a lot of confidence in her. And confidence comes from demonstrated performance, and she's put a lot of really good stuff on film and on a stat sheet in her time here. And tonight, I thought she just really picked her spots. Okay, I need to assert myself. All right, a few plays go on, maybe, and okay, here's another time I need to assert myself. And I thought she was pretty strategic in those moments.
You talked about getting on her in practice late about that. Hey, it's not just a switch, but you got to go.
Yeah.
Are you still seeing that, or has she climbed that hill? And
No, I think part of it's my fault because we don't have a lot of her stuff, in right now this early. We've really spent a lot of time trying to get some other people ready, knowing that she's good enough to get her shots within what we do, and she showed that tonight.
When would you want to have her step in? Is that Big 12 play or?
No, it'll be before that. It'll be before that, and even some of it, is maybe in right now, but we don't necessarily want it on film. So we're trying to be smart about that too.
You talked to Jalea a couple of times throughout the night, and you can see the frustration on her face.
Yeah.
Obviously, is that at all a positive? Seeing that it bothers her, she wants to be great and better and all those things, or how do you read that?
Well, she's really hard on herself.
Yeah.
She's a perfectionist, and that's just part of the her development is managing just kind of the emotional roller coaster of it all. It's hey, if you miss a shot under the basket, you just have to move on to the next play. If you get a whistle that maybe was a tough whistle, you have to move on to the next play. And but her desire to be great is as high as anybody I've ever coached, and we're just going to have to. It's going to be experience. She's going to have to work through some of those things.
That'll take time. Then
Absolutely,
yeah, right.
And it'll take games like this.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean?
Having to feel it.
Yeah, having to feel it, having to play through it, and hopefully we can still be successful in those games, and she can learn through it, while the team also gets a win.
With Regan kind of being thrown to the wolves last year, how have you seen her develop and grow as a player leading into this? Obviously, coming off the bench and having such a huge game.
Yeah, I think just her versatility. We can do different things defensively when she's in there. Offensively, I think she's a tough matchup, especially now that she has some help on the front line. We're excited about the kind of year that we think she's going to have.
You got 20 minutes for Libby tonight. Just what did you see from her, even if the scoring wasn't there and it's not there on the stat sheet?
Yeah, I think that's a young player, especially a freshman, can't look at a stat sheet and try to judge their performance. Her or Keely, either one. I think defensively she played with good effort and was pretty assignment correct for the most part. It's a lot of information, from a freshman to go to this level. To process, how fast we have to communicate and be able to give multiple efforts within a possession, and she's growing there.
What's the biggest thing you tell them or take away from this first one?
That we have to defend and rebound better, and that is going to be a collective thing. It's not, hey, I need one individual to guard better. We have to collectively defend better. We had far too many situations where we didn't communicate well and got lost on some switches. So, it's just stuff we have to continue to practice.
Anything else for Brandon?
That was KU head women's coach Brandon Schneider addressing the media after a 74-64 victory over the Kansas City Ruse. Hey, after this, going to be hearing from KU defensive coordinator DK McDonald. He was made available to the media on Tuesday, right after this break on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Hey, got a chance to hear from KU defensive coordinator DK McDonald. He was made available to the media on Tuesday. Let's hear everything DK had to say right now.
What are you seeing from your defensive coordinator, and how can you generate more pressure at this point in the season?
I think we're doing a good job. We got 19, 20 sacks. I think we got a lot of different pressures there. So they're doing a good job, doing a lot of different things, and I think we're getting after people. So we'll just continue to do that and get our guys better, and continue to get them to the quarterback.
Speaking of quarterback, what have you seen when you look at the tape of Arizona's quarterback?
He's special. He's a special quarterback, one of the best in the league. They do a really good job what they do. They got one of the best offenses in the league, and he's the main reason why, really. So it's going to be a big challenge for us. He's able to throw with great accuracy, great timing, and then he's able to use his legs when he wants to. So it's going to be a huge challenge for us down there. They're playing great ball. They're playing with a lot of confidence. The games that they lost have been really close losses. In their mind, they probably feel like they're 7-1, and they should. And so it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Yeah, and Coach Leipold talked about his accuracy. He's kind of more of a pocket quarterback compared to some of the other guys he faced in the past. How different is that in preparation for practice for you guys compared to some of the dual threats you guys have faced?
And it's always difficult to go against great quarterbacks. And, like I said, it's going to be a huge challenge with just what he does with both his arm and his leg. And he does a great job, too, man. He can throw. He makes some NFL throws where guys aren't really open. He throws them open. And you don't see that a lot in college. Or guys who are, before they stop their route, he's already delivered the ball. And so some of those things are really special and interesting to watch. So he's a heck of a quarterback. I heard a lot about him. Really didn't get to watch him a lot last year just because we didn't play him. But now to see him on film, I can see why there's been a big buzz about him. It should be. He earned it.
Saeed's day got cut short, but what did you see that made you want to put him in the outside? And it looks like he did pretty well when he was there.
Just he's done a good job in practice, and we kind of need that spot. We're moving Jay Todd kind of inside as much as we have, so we just kind of put a guy out there, and he's done a really good job in practice, and he came out and had a good game. Unfortunately, like you said, it was cut short just by the targeting call, and but he did a really good job with the PBU covering guys, and that's what he's done in practice when he's been healthy.
How will you guys adjust with him out for the first half of this game?
Just the next guy got to be able to go, and we got some guys, and they just got to be ready to go. And then when we get them back for the second half, be ready to go. So it's unfortunate what happened, but it was a good call, and we got to continue to teach our guys to put their target lower.
Coach Leipold talked about turnovers on defense, forcing more. What are the controllable things you guys can do to be in that position?
Yeah, if the ball's in the air, we got to attack the football. We got to play with our eyes and get us into a good position there to be able to play. Then we got to punch and try to strip at the ball too, and kind of take advantage of guys have the ball loose away from the body. We got to take advantage of that, and takeaways are really just more technique and awareness. And so I think we got to continue to increase our awareness when we got those opportunities to make plays.
There's a weird, crazy, stat going around for you guys on defense that there's not been a pass interference accepted against you guys this year. What do you make of a stat like that?
None really. I mean, they didn't accept them. We've had pass interferences, they just didn't accept them. So, I mean, it's just a stat. I guess it is crazy. Yeah.
DK, you guys are using some DNs in pass coverage. Is that something you've always done?
It's something I've always been around. If you have guys who can do it, I mean, it's not something you can do every year. I think having, Dean, with his skill set that he has, being a lighter body, he's able to do it. You can see the number of tackles that he can make in space. And plus, having a bigger body out there, we feel that that's beneficial when a wide receiver tries to block Dean or try to, block Leroy. We feel like we got the advantage with so many teams that play in space. So it's just something we can do. I don't think it's something you can do year to year. You just got to kind of see the guys that you have, and if you're able to do things like that. If you're not, then you just can't do it. But if you can, then it's another benefit that you have to be able to add some layers to your defense.
I saw a stat yesterday that Arizona's defense has improved almost like 100 spots compared to last year. Do you think that's easier to do with the portal now that you can plug guys in?
A little bit. You can get infusion of talent, and get some NFL guys, on your roster, which can always help. But also with that, they still got to learn. I know there's some teams that have a lot of portal guys and they're struggling, and so I still think it's got to do with chemistry, how you can teach it, how the guys can learn it, and how they can go out and execute it. But to have a lot of talent on your roster, I know Texas Tech is kind of the same way. They had a huge jump, and when you get those NFL guys on your defense, I imagine that helps quite a bit. You can coach them up, and there's some good coaches. I mean, Coach Gonzalez is one of the best in the nation in what he does, and so it's no surprise that they're better at defense.
What are some of, I guess, broadly speaking, the main points that you're emphasizing in your defense at this point in the season?
It's always the same thing, try to play fast, physical for each other. We got to do a great job communicating. We got to do a great job getting a line. We got to do a great job getting off blocks. We got to do a great job tackling. We got to run to the football. And I think those things never change in what you believe. That's why they're called core values, because they're at the core of who you are and what you do. Now, we got to do them better, naturally, but I don't think you can change your core values from week to week and game to game. They got to be who you are, what you believe in, what's etched in your heart, and then you got to go out and perform it.
You talked about Arizona's quarterback. Elsewhere on the offense, where does your mind go? What stands out?
They got a tremendous collection of wide receivers. You can tell in the game, if you watch the last week's game against Colorado, there were some throws that, he made, they caught, and they ended up turning them into explosive plays. And so they're really good with that. The one guy who's kind of unsung on their defense, offense, and not a lot of people talk about is the running back. I think he's really good. Really explosive. He's not a big guy, but man, he can run and he can make some explosive plays. And then their offensive line is big. They got some big guys up there who can cover you up. And then those two tackles do a great job of moving their feet and keeping guys away from the quarterback. But they do a really good job of, with those big guards, keeping people out of the way of the quarterback because he's a shorter guy. So they really make sure people don't collapse the pocket. Then the tackles do a good job building around them, which allows them to be a great pocket quarterback. So they're interesting to watch. And like I said, you can tell why they're averaging 34 or whatever points a game. And they're explosive on all levels, which is good for them.
Anything else for the panel?
As KU defensive coordinator DK McDonald addressing the media as he's going to have a tough challenge ahead of him. A different quarterback than we're used to seeing with Noah Fifita, kind of a pocket guy. They're more used to seeing kind of some of those dual threat guys. So going to be interesting. Got to get a lot of pressure on Noah Fifita. I'll give you an entire in-depth breakdown on that tomorrow. On tomorrow's show, I'm also going to be talking KU UNC tomorrow. That's going to be tipping off out at Chapel Hill. So really exciting. Speaking of basketball, we're going to be hearing from KU basketball coach Bill Self after this on Rock Chalk Sports. You're listening on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Daniel Coutwright here. Hey, earlier on in the week, I had a chance to hear from KU head men's basketball coach, two-time national champion, and a Hall of Famer, Bill Self. He addressed the media as they're going to be taking on North Carolina for the first time. KU travels out to Chapel Hill. That's going to be tomorrow. You can listen to coverage on that on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's hear everything Coach had to say right now.
Can Shay ask the first question? You weren't even here last week.
Yeah, we should do that.
You think we can go back to it?
That works.
I mean,
thank you. Longevity, seniority. He's old.
I'm just wondering the challenges of preparing for Carolina. I know they've had one game and some exhibition games. What stands out about them? What challenges they present? And are you guys, is this something you get, every game is important, but is this something you get excited about doing, going out there and playing in that venue?
oh yeah, I've never been to Chapel Hill to play. So I am personally excited. I know the players are and will be a lot more as we get closer. But I'm excited about it. You know, I've seen, and we've seen, you know, the exhibition and obviously the game against Central Arkansas, and you know they got a pretty impressive freshman too, and they're big. They're always great on the glass. They're always great in transition, and they're skilled on the perimeter and make shots, and certainly, you know, and playing, you know, at their place in front of what 21 or 22, whatever the number is, will be a tough challenge, but one that we need to go through to kind of see where we're at and hopefully learn from.
First time KU as a program even has played in Chapel Hill. What kind of value do these marquee home and homes provide in this era of college basketball specifically?
Well, I think anything to promote our sport at a time when football is at its peak, in my opinion, collegiately, with the championship, with the BCS championship and 12 teams making it. So many great things that football has done to keep the interest longer and peak interest right when we're starting. So I think these are the type of games that we have to play, need to play for our sport to at least split a little bit of the attention. And now granted, all eyes that are college athletics fans aren't going to be on men's basketball in the way they're going to be on it in February and March, obviously, in early April. But we got to keep the interest. And this is the way you do it, in my opinion, is play these marquee matchups.
Bill, when you were young kid,
hold on. Did you say when?
Well, you're still young.
Okay,
but,
okay.
You know,
Well, you said win.
I said a kid. I
Okay,
said a
okay,
kid.
okay.
You know? When you were young, though, you spent so much of your life in Kansas, Oklahoma, even Illinois, right? Like when you were a kid growing up, what did you think about Carolina? Did you know the program? Did you know
Oh
it
yeah.
existed?
Well, personally, I've always kind of studied the sport in a way that's probably a little bit more intent and different than way most kids my age did.
Sure.
So I wasn't as aware about Kansas and the history, but I knew that, you know, Coach Smith played at Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, and you know, I've known there's been times in Carolina where, you know, they've had you know, 10, 11 pros on one team. And I've always been so impressed. I always thought Coach Smith was one of the most innovative, and I think it's you know, thought by everybody, one of the most innovative coaches our sport is known, in that people copied what they did. And then of course, Coach Williams, Roy, you know, obviously continued that and actually did a lot of the same things they did at Carolina, at Kansas, at times, even better than the past. And then him going back to Carolina, you know, they won 3. So it's an impressive situation, but it means more to us and to them probably because our programs are so entwined. And do you really is Carolina really Carolina without Kansas? And is Kansas really Kansas without Carolina? And the answer is no. So, I mean, you can debate that, but that's a fact.
Sure.
So I do think it brings more attention to this matchup.
What was it? I mean, you know, no internet, games weren't on your phone, games weren't on TV. Was it as easy to get a feel for what North Carolina basketball was when you were, you know, in college even?
You know, what was it? Indiana and Carolina in the national championship game in '81, was it? Al Wood, if I'm not mistaken. And certainly, you know, the team that they had that won it in '82. No, was it Carolina and Isaiah won it? Didn't they beat Carolina in the finals, I think? And then the year that they won it with Michael and James and Sam and all that stuff was on that team. I watched that, studied it in large part because that was my era when I was in college. So it's been pretty impressive. You know, as good as Carolina's been over time, when you're that good year in and year out over time, you know, they were one of the 5 favorites to win a national championship most every year. And we know as well as anybody that there's a lot of good fortune that goes into actually winning that last game and advancing. But the consistency that they've shown over time to me is, you know, there's obviously a lot of great programs out there, but when you talk about blue bloods and you're talking about, you know, Kentucky and Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Indiana, you know, you're talking about the winningest programs ever. St. John's, certainly, you know, nobody can claim more history to our sport than what the aforementioned schools I just talked about.
Does that resonate with your guys? What do your players think going into this one?
Well, they'll be excited to play, and they'll think Carolina, but they're not going to think Carolina the way I think Carolina. When I think Carolina, I'm thinking historical.
Right.
They're going to think Carolina as in this team or this moment.
Yeah.
So,
do you look back much at last year's game at all, or is that too far in the past to think much about it?
I've watched it. I think we can look back and see how individuals for them played and how downhill Trimble was and a lot of different things like that. But the reality of it is they have a different team. We have a different team. So I doubt the way they try to play against us may be consistent in theory, but personnel and tweaking, I don't think they'll look like the same team that they had last year, just like I don't think we will either.
talked about wanting your guys to play to their size in the front court. How important is that going to be against this Carolina team?
Well, I think it's going to be very important. Caleb's probably off to as good a start as any freshman in the country. And he's, I watched him the other night, and Carolina's got 12 points in the first 3 minutes of the game, and he's already got 4 dunks, or whatever. It's impressive. And obviously their post guy, he played well against us last year, at Arizona, and in the Big 12 tournament game especially, and made some key plays. And then they got transfers, and they're new. And I would think Hubert, I can't speak for Hubert, but I would think there's an element of excitement in their camp just because it is new and fresh and exciting. And I think that's kind of what we have too. So I see 2 similar teams that probably both don't know really how good we are yet, but both have a chance to be really good.
When it comes to Darren and the cramping that's come up, how long has this been something that he's dealt with? Did you see it from him in high school?
No.
How concerning is that?
It's concerning because we're not going to be near as effective. Him playing 16 minutes a game, but it's something that we don't anticipate being anything that lasts. But we're taking it serious and feel like that we're in better shape than we were obviously a week ago.
Just to go off that, obviously Friday could be a game where he might need to play extended minutes. Is he feeling any better?
Might need to play what?
Maybe more minutes than.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's averaged 23.
But there's not real minutes.
Right.
He played 14 minutes against Louisville and played 16 minutes the other night because second half, he wasn't effective coming out. So to your point, extended minutes would be more than that. I'm seeing as extended minutes being in that 32 to 35 range. Yeah.
And with Cole, obviously I know his shot's not falling right now, but he's rebounding and keeping balls alive. Do you like what you've seen with him? I mean, do you worry about him maybe forcing things, or is he not maybe there yet?
I like his aggressiveness. I love him as a player. I think he tries really hard. He competes. He wants to get better. The ball's not going in the hole like it was earlier, in large part because I think he's too amped up and too excited, and he probably needs to, slow down a little bit. I think he's playing sped up, and when you play sped up, obviously you don't shoot it as well, but he will. I mean, don't you anticipate all guys first time the lights come on being in that situation for the most part, unless your name's Peterson. So.
Was he able to go today, and is he frustrated at all?
Yeah, Darren practiced today. I didn't sense frustration on his face or anything, but yes, he practiced today. And last night too.
So it's looking a lot better since the game.
As far as him being out there, well, he was out there in the game. I can't predict what's going to happen after he goes extended period of time or whatnot. But he's been out there, so haven't seen any issues.
What do you think of them adding an international player this week?
Yeah, I don't know the exact reasons for that. It was NCAA eligible, but Carolina had to clear him. Am I right on that? But he's an impressive guy. He comes in right off the bat and he doesn't hesitate, and he's pulling it from deep. And obviously he's a guy that can stretch it and also very skilled. So that'll certainly make their team better.
When Roy was their coach, did you guys ever discuss a home and home?
No. I don't know that would have been the right thing to do anyway. It would suck for him, and it would suck for me. So if that's the case, then probably not a great combination to decide to play home and home. But I do think, it's different with Hubert, and I think the fact that we met up a couple of years ago in a big game, I think adds to it a little bit, because that was a coin flip game, as everybody knows, and so that it certainly maybe adds to the intrigue of the game.
Could you envision continuing more home and homes with them?
I would love to. We've talked about that. I think that would be great, but it's also got to fit for them. How many games is the Big 12 going to play in league next year? I know our league, but I don't know how many the ACC plays. And you have all the other games, and you got the players there, and you got so many different things going on that the true home and homes are important for our sport, but you can't play them all. You can't play many of them if, in fact, your schedule is playing 7, let's say, games already. That only leaves you, 6 games, let's say, to actually schedule on your own. Players there, we're scheduling for 4 games next year. And you got the champions, and you got the other things going on, and you got the Missouri series, and Connecticut returning. I mean, there's so many different things going on that it kind of limits you. But this would be one that I would love for this to continue, regardless of our scheduling situation.
And is there one, now that you're going to get to go to the Smith Center, is there one arena besides that you're dying to go to?
Dying may be a stretch. We don't say the word dying anymore around. I think we haven't been to Cameron. I've never been to Cameron, and I've never been to Chapel Hill. So those would be 2 bucket list things, and we get to mark one of them off this year, obviously.
Elmarco Jackson had the most minutes out of any non-starter against Green Bay. How are you kind of envisioning his role on this squad, and what are you seeing out of him in terms of a leadership standpoint?
Well, he and Mari and Flo are our most veteran guys, and they're sophomores. So I think he can lead. He's been here for 2 years, even though he's a sophomore. Because he had to sit out last year. So he's got a feel on what we're trying to do and accomplish. And he's such a good person, and guys like him, that his voice will carry. And I think he can become a sounder playing, but I think the more sounder he becomes playing, I think that will allow him to be a better leader too. Sometimes it's hard to lead if you're, not taking care of the business yourself anyway, but he always does off the court. I'm just talking about execution. So I'm happy with him. Right now, I see him as the first guard off the bench, and I see him, whoever's playing the best stays in the game. So basically a 6-starter type guy.
I think you mentioned it the other night with the freshmen around the country, obviously 2 in this game, a bunch in the league. Is it a cycle thing, or is there something to it? Are you seeing any rhyme or reason to why this freshman class is so powerful?
Well, first of all, I read something the other day. It may be the best freshman class ever. Yeah. Do you guys see the same thing? I mean, I don't know if that's true, but it's really strong. I also wonder this, and I haven't thought this through, but with the portal and the circulation and all the things, and the guys obviously, going pro as early as they possibly can, the most talented kids in every class will be your freshmen. The most talented kids. And then I wonder if maybe in the past, the portal kids have been the headliners of recruiting classes, where this year the freshmen are the headliners of recruiting classes. Now, I didn't mean that you don't have some great portal guys, but I don't think they've gotten the same hype. And so much of how we view things is based on how things start, because it sets the tone for the first part of the season or whatever. And so that's why I think, with the freshmen all performing at such an elite level, all the talk has gone to them naturally, and deservedly so. So whenever you have marquee games and the freshmen are the best player in all those games, obviously that's going to be what's talked about the most.
Just wondering, when you have guys like Darren and Melvin who can get to the basket and score, and how does that maybe make you guys look different? How does that change things for you guys?
Well, I think most teams have that, and to an extent. But the one thing about it is last year, Juan was our guy. Loved him. But he couldn't be a guy that just breaks people down and go get his own shot. Whereas speed, even Tyshawn, even back in the day, he may not be the guy that we're playing to score the ball, but he's the guy that could force help. And Melvin can certainly do that. And Darren is kind of like what we would probably, if we're comparing going back in a late clock situation, being kind of like the Sharon for us.
Just more on Melvin, his leadership. He looks like he wants that role, taking that role, and also in a game where there's so many 5-stars going at each other, he probably was not the highly recruited guy, and he looks like a guy that likes to play with an edge. Do you see that?
Yes, I do. Dave, I hope that's the case with him. I don't think, I think people will use whatever they can as motivation to try to fire themselves up and raise their own level. There's no question about that. I don't think Melvin looks at it saying, you know, this guy was recruited ahead of me, so therefore that turns me up more to actually go him. You know, he's a guy that went JUCO. Out of high school. It wasn't like he was the 25th guy on a 24-man McDonald's roster. So I don't see it maybe to the extent that the way you described it, but I do see it at the extent of I can play with anybody. And he has been all those things that you just mentioned. He's been a good leader for us, but he also can do a lot of things to become. He's a good leader verbally. He can also do some things more by example too, as far as execution out there.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
That was Kansas head men's basketball coach Bill Self addressing the media yesterday, getting ready for the first time the Jayhawks are going to travel out to Chapel Hill in the Dean Dome. Bill Self said he's never been there before, so really excited to watch that. All-time color combination. When I saw that Carolina blue in Allen Fieldhouse last year, it was like basketball heaven, and seeing that royal blue in the Dean Dome is just going to be so much fun. So I'm really, really excited for this game that's going to be tipping off tomorrow. You can hear coverage on that on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hey, after this, new guest alert. We got Ben Hooke from UDK coming on the show right after this break on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Daniel Courtwright here, and very pleased to bring on a special guest. First time appearing on the show. It's Ben Hooke from the University Daily Cans, and I sit by this guy during football games, and let me tell you, he knows ball. We'll talk football, but first, want to get into Kansas basketball. They're going to be playing against North Carolina tomorrow. Really, really exciting game that's going to be happening. Obviously, two of the bluest of blue bloods going on, but want to talk about what we've already seen, right? With Darren Peterson as advertised. I mean, seeing a freshman play basketball like that is just nothing short of amazing, right? He has been incredible. The cramps continues to be an issue. Now, granted, they took him out early against Green Bay because, you know, it was a combination of the two. We didn't need him anymore. Also, he felt it coming on kind of thing. But I want you to talk about DP and what you've seen from him and the chemistry that he has with these guys already, because this team is already playing like a team that's been together for like 3 years.
Yeah, so I write a weekly column for the student paper. I wrote mine about Kansas basketball this week. And I think the thing that works for me the most with Darren Peterson is that I've seen a lot of great basketball players. I've seen basketball players live. I've been to a bunch of NBA games, obviously a lot of college games. And, you know, I've seen a lot of players who can do sort of the near impossible and the really, really tough stuff. I don't know if I've seen a player who can do that nearly impossible stuff with the ease that Darren Peterson can do it.
Yeah.
Like he just seems to be working. I think my comparison against Green Bay was it was like he was a high school senior who'd, you know, gone down and played in a freshman team scrimmage or
Right.
something like that. Like he looked like a genuine pro playing against amateurs.
Yeah.
And so that is stunningly impressive. But I think where the drawback comes is that this Kansas roster you talk about, it's really fun. There's a lot of cool pieces. I think without Darren, this team is not necessarily even like a major tournament contender. I think this is like a bubble team without Darren Peterson.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking, this team is built around Darren Peterson being very, very, very good at basketball.
Sure. I think when you look at the Fort Hays State game and you look at how that went, obviously Fort Hays State only scored 35 points, right? So on the defensive end, they did well. But also, when you watch that game, I mean, the first word that came to my mind was boring, right? And maybe it's because of the fact that everyone wanted to see DP out there, and shots weren't falling, and again, it was early in the season, right? But Darren Peterson is so much the head of the snake so early in his career. It is just insane to me how important he is, because this is the first time Bill Self has really ever handed the reins fully to a freshman, right? I mean, you look at Andrew Wiggins; they had a lot of veteran guys on that squad, right? Josh Jackson, even he had Frank and all these different guys on that squad as well. Different guys who were leaders. When you look at this squad, you have Flory Badunga, who played 13 minutes a game, averaged 5.9 points per game from last year. Not saying that Flory's bad. I'm just saying the veteran presence isn't there, and he has fully handed the reins over to DP.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's, everything rides on an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
It's one of the most incredible 18-year-old basketball players I've ever seen.
By the way, if anything ever rode on me when I was 18 years old, I would crumble immediately.
Yes.
I was it just that's so much pressure for an 18-year-old.
You go to freshman year Ben in Hashinger Hall and you say, listen, a full athletic program is riding on your shoulders.
Right.
Brother, I am collapsing instantly. There's no question in that. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think, you can see development near the end of the year. And I think, you get into February and there might be a game where like Darren has some sort of minor issue and Bill sits him a game. Maybe Kansas will be in a better place, but right now, it's kind of worrisome, especially with the fact that it feels like at this point, Darren is the only player who can reliably space the floor for Kansas.
I actually agree with you, because as much of a scoring threat as he is, I think he's just as good of a facilitator of the ball, for sure. And we could talk DP all day, but we'll kind of want to get through some of the other guys. And another freshman that comes to mind is Cole Rosario. Cole Rosario on a rocket-like trajectory from, I would say, like March, right? I mean, just a guy who was on nobody's radar, all of a sudden was on everybody's radar, reclassed, came to Kansas. You heard fantastic things about him in the offseason. And then through the first 3 games, you go, well, I mean, he looks like a junior, senior in high school, right? The game is just a little too fast for him right now. What are you expecting to see out of Cole this year? Obviously, with experience comes, it's going to come, right? He's not there yet, but he will eventually get there. What have you seen out of Cole Rosario so far?
Well, I think the thing that people keep talking about was I think there was a lot of talk about him being like Christian Braun or Brown 2.0.
For sure.
I think the thing that people need to remember is that Christian Braun did not get drafted as a freshman.
That is very true.
I think, his athleticism, his hustle, that is all stuff that's going to get him on the floor. If he can't keep up defensively, and then you're expecting the 3-point shooting will regress to the mean. He was a good 3-point shooter in overtime elite. He was a good 3-point shooter before. He was a good free throw shooter before, which is always a good tell of being able to shoot well. So you hope that regresses to the mean, but you just really do wonder with these reclass guys, especially, how quickly that skill level scales up. Where you're seeing these guys like Darren played 4 years of high school ball. He's scaled up. He's knows what he's got right now. Like for every Cooper Flagg, who's a guy who scaled up, boom, like that.
Yeah.
There are guys who it's going to take a little while for. So I really wonder. I think Cole Rosario is going to come on really strong by conference play. He'll be a starter by then. But there's going to be some real growing pains and some games. And I think North Carolina is going to put a target on his head. They're going to put a target on his head and Flory's head.
So with that comes my next question, because we've seen Cole start the 3 games that we've seen, the one that actually matters with Green Bay. But, we saw him start against Louisville, against Fort Hays State, and against Green Bay. Hasn't really come to. And then now you get North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina isn't Fort Hays State, right? So do you see a shakeup in the starting five? Do you see, because we know El Marco is going to be the next guy, because we saw that in the Fort Hays State game when Darren Peterson sat out. El Marco was the next guy up. I asked Bill Self what he expects out of El Marco. He said he's going to be a fantastic six-man off the bench, just a guy who comes in there as kind of a spark plug. But do you potentially see any kind of shakeups, at least in this early non-con, of Cole Rosario potentially sitting in El Marco, maybe taking over and maybe sliding Melvin to the 3 spot and El Marco to that 2 spot? Or do you think the starting 5 is pretty much set right now?
I don't fully know. I think the thing is that if you pull Cole out of the starting lineup and you hammer his minutes right away, I think that's going to just shoot right through his confidence.
Sure.
So, if you start him and you keep him on a pretty tight leash, that feels like a better thing. And if it looks like in the first 2-3 minutes that the atmosphere is getting to him, that North Carolina is really running a lot of actions his way, asking him to defend in space and make switches and quick decisions, and he's not up to it, and you pull him, then that feels a little better to me than just not giving him the start and making him sit on the bench, come in that game cold. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be a really, really interesting test because this is obviously going to be a pretty hostile road environment. Like, I think the Dean Dome goes a little bit under the radar because it's like a little bit too big
Right.
to be
Yeah.
like, one of those classic scary road venues. But
Sure.
like, it's a tough place to play, and Kansas can very easily get jungled.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful thing about Allen Fieldhouse is that it's not as big as the KFC Yum Center, but it's just seats all the way up, and it feels like they're just right on top of you the entire time. I think you're right about that with the Dean Dome. Ben Hooke, UDK, joins the show here in studio. Ben, want to talk about Flory Bidunga because
Right on.
this is a guy who I mean, we've really seen him come on just in that Green Bay game, right? With Fort Hays State, this was something that I brought up on the show, and that you cannot be Flory Bidunga, starting center for Kansas, and be pushed around by Division II guys from Goddard, Kansas, or wherever these guys are, right? And he came out against Green Bay, and I thought had a fantastic game, had a season high or career high, excuse me, and seems to me like he's been adding to his post moves. What are you seeing out of Flory Bidunga as of right now, and do you think that's going to translate to UNC?
Yeah, so I see a lot of guys on draft Twitter, so I'm fairly active on there, and there's a lot of sort of the spreadsheet guys, and he fluctuates wildly on those guys'
Sure.
boards because like his play finishing skill and his ability to finish lobs, block shots, all that stuff is excellent. Everything else of his offensive game is kind of worrisome.
Yeah.
And doesn't show up very well on the stats. I think the thing that's really impressive with Flory is that you can see that he's played soccer because he's like one of those sort of slow lumbering strikers
Right.
who has the most unbelievable like 6-foot acceleration you'll ever see.
Yes.
Where his ability to go from here to here, sorry for getting my hand in front
Oh,
of the mic or
yeah.
something like that. But to go from there to there in that quick of a speed and to be able to play finish from that spot and be able to dunk, that's pretty exceptional. But yeah, I really liked sort of the layup finishes. And listen, he scored 20 points because he made a bunch of touch shots that you don't think are probably going to be like consistent shots for anybody. It's really, really challenging to ask anyone short of Nikola Jokic to make a shot like that.
For sure.
With like
Right.
70% consistency. So yeah, we'll see. But I think against North Carolina, it'll be interesting. They're going to try to run at him and get him in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's been his trouble the entire time he's been in college, is that he swings a lot at blocking shots and he misses a lot blocking shots.
Yeah, for sure.
So for as much as like positive defensive generation he gets, he's going to need to stay on the floor, and we'll see how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And we'll get into more UNC depth, but I want to ask you about another player, Bryson Tiller.
Sure.
I mean, that guy has come on in a way that nobody really expected. I think it's because he's a little, off of everybody's radar because he came in early. He didn't play in the McDonald's All-American game, and he was injured, and everyone just kind of forgot about him, right? Because he came in so early, and then we had all these new guys coming in. We were focused on all the new guys. We forgot we had a top 20 player in high school already sitting on our bench, already developing under Bill Self. And the interesting thing is, I think that there's going to be a breaking point where you have to put Bryson Tiller in the starting 5. Now, unfortunately, that's going to have to bring out either Trey White or Flory Bidunga. Where do you see his role kind of fitting if he continues to be on this upward trajectory that he already is?
Well, first of all, I don't think you necessarily are going to need to push out Trey White or Badunga. I
Sure.
think you could move White to the 3
Yeah,
and
he's
play
a
and
yeah,
play
he
a
can be a stretch guy.
two big lineup because I think Tiller's shooting might be real. I think the thing is though is that if Tiller's shooting is real, that actually makes him less valuable to this Kansas team because having him as another super athletic rim running 4 who can set screens and then can basically free up Flory to not necessarily be in that like screen everything 15 feet from the basket role. You know, if he can play, if Tiller can play in that role, then that unlocks a whole bunch of sort of flexibility because he becomes sort of the Swiss Army knife where you can play him at the 4, you can try him at the 5 in lineups depending on how real the defense is with him. Heck, you could even, you know, try him at the 3 in some lineups where
Yeah.
you could play
He's
him
self-proclaimed,
as a
yeah, 3 through 5.
as a super big, you know, 6'10" small forward who can stretch the floor, can handle a little, and can really punish guys off closeouts. So yeah, it really, you know, if he's just going to be a pure stretch big and, you know, is going to just run a ton of pick and pop action, that's good. You know, if
Yeah.
a big who can stretch the floor is pretty helpful. Perry Ellis for the 10 years he was here, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, like
10 years.
I think how he can then turn that shooting into, you know, different parts of being a complete offensive threat really matters, and then how well he holds up defensively and how well he holds up on the glass.
Yeah,
Because
one-
that's 2 super important things.
100%. Ben Hooke, University of Daily Kansas, joins the show here in studio. One more question about a player because this is a guy who I had penciled in as a starter and has not really risen to the occasion. That's Jaden Dawson, right? I mean, Jaden Dawson, what we're seeing out of him is not really what we expected. We expected him kind of to be a shooter, and we knew the stats weren't there. And he's good at getting to the basket, at least from the film that we saw from Loyola Chicago. Where do you see him slotting in? Because he's fascinating to me because you have, you know, Melvin, obviously the 2, and Darren Peterson and Melvin Council have already talked about their chemistry, right? You have Cole sitting at that 3 spot. You also have Elmarco, and Jamari came in against Green Bay and had a big game as well. What do you make of the Jaden Dawson experience, and where is he going to kind of slot in as well?
Well, first of all, by film, I think you mean that really sick highlight of him throwing down a nasty
Yes,
dunk.
I
when he
do.
was at
Yeah,
Loyola.
yeah, that's like the one I was like, oh, he's gonna get into the rim. I saw like one clip.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting, and I think it'll take time, right? Because he had some injuries, some sort of knocks. Apparently, that was why he wasn't practicing a ton early in the year. I think he'll come on later in the year, and he'll be really excellent. We do our Kansan roundtable where we talk about who's going to be, you know, the dark horse contender or something, or, you know, the dark horse player who's going to be a big thing late in the year. And I think there's going to be a game, you know, conference play, maybe at Tech or something, where Jaden Dawson hits 4 threes.
Ooh,
or something.
okay with that,
or something
right?
like that. Like he's not going to start, I don't think.
Sure.
You know, if there's some injury issues, maybe he'll start.
He'd be like a Remy Martin, but in a different role.
He'll be a 7th or 8th man. His goal is basically going to be come off the bench, hold up on defense, and then bomb threes.
Yeah.
And if that works, then, you know, a larger Diggy court is not a bad thing.
No, I think you're absolutely
Especially because
right.
we already have a smaller Diggy court
Right.
from Canada.
That's right, Ginyagala. He got the biggest pop of the night against Green Bay.
Unbelievable.
I love G. I think he's such a fun. He's gonna be a fan favorite for sure whenever he does get into the game. I want to talk about North Carolina. I think they're on fraud watch, even though they're 25 right now in the nation. I don't think they're that good. They do have good players, right? Caleb Wilson's fantastic. Old friend alert, Henry Vasar, transferred over from Arizona. Kyan Evans, transferred over from Colorado. He's a local kid from Kansas City who went to Colorado State and then, you know, transferred over to North Carolina. What are you seeing out of them, and how can Kansas pull this one out in what we know is going to be a very hostile environment at the Dean Dome?
So little's known about them. I think there's not a ton. I do really worry about those 2 bigs for North Carolina, Wilson and Vasar, attacking Badunga, where they're probably gonna set up some isolations where they're gonna get Vasar in the post, and they're gonna see, you know, can he wriggle and shake and roll to make Flory foul him. Because if Flory gets tagged with 2 fouls early, then that's already, you know, the darkest scenario for Kansas. Like if Paul and Bia has to play legitimate minutes,
Yeah, no, it's Sean always makes fun of me because he says I'm Paul Mbia's biggest hater. I'm not. I actually love Paul Mbia, and I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the floor. But he's just not there yet, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very clear when you're 7'2" and you keep on bringing the ball down below, like you need to learn to keep it up top. That's what Hunter Dickinson is really good at, is keeping it essentially above everybody, and just the coordination isn't there, and there's a whole lot of things. So I agree with you. If Paul Mbia does have to play, could potentially be an issue. Ben, wanted to flip over to KU football as they're looking for that 6th win right now, and they're going down to Arizona against another hostile environment. All road games are going to be hostile environments, you know what I mean? But I am still, to this day, I've never gone out on Noah Fifita. Everybody went out on him last year. I am still a Noah Fifita believer.
He can grip it and rip it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's a good quarterback, but he's different. He's a different quarterback than what we're used to seeing, because it feels like Kansas has seen a lot of dual threat guys. Fifita's more of kind of a pocket guy, and he likes to sit in that pocket, and he likes to, like you said, grip it and rip it. And they have really talented wide receivers. But I wanted to talk about their secondary, because their secondary, I will say, is top 10 secondary in the nation right now. JD over the last 2 games has not really proven it. Now, granted, the 2 games that he didn't really prove it were very different games. K-State didn't look good. Oklahoma State, we didn't need him, right? Because we had established a run game. What are you expecting out of JD in this one? Do you expect him to rise from the top? Because we've seen him do that so many times in the past, where he's gone up against good defenses and kind of picked them apart.
I mean, I think Kansas will try to basically pitch around the Arizona secondary. I think they're going to, if you can have Le'Shawn Williams and Daniel Highshaw running like they've been running,
yeah,
and you can just balance that and run a lot of carries and keep Jalen from really having to be in a lot of passing situations, and really, more importantly, this offensive line from having to pass block in those sort of situations. I think that's going to make it a lot better. So yeah, I think Kansas will try to, they're going to play a game plan that does not require Jalen Daniels to play an A game to win.
Sure.
This will probably be a game plan that's saying, Jalen, just go out there and get a B. Hit a couple of good throws out of structure, play make on a couple of times where the line gets caved in, and hope for the best from the run game, hope for the best from the defense. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Did you know that there's only one time in Kansas history where they've been to 3 bowls in 4 years?
Let me guess. It wouldn't have been, so they went to the 92 Aloha Bowl, the 95 Aloha Bowl. Did they go to the, no, so that would have been,
It's under Mangino.
Huh?
It's under
Mangino?
Mangino, yeah.
Oh gosh, okay. Oh, so would have been Fort Worth Bowl.
Yep.
And then Orange Bowl, and then Inside Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's the only time.
Yeah.
So not even in the 60s when they went to the Orange Bowl
No.
and played against Jopa. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So they're about to start. They're about to make history, right?
Hopefully they got to win.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, they have to win. That's absolutely right. And now I want to talk about Kansas' defense, because talk about a roller coaster, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
oh boy.
you watch them against West Virginia. You watch them in the second half against UCF, and you go, this is a great defense. And then you watch them against Texas Tech. Then you watch them against Cincinnati, against K-State, and you go, what is happening, right? So a lot of fluctuation in terms of really good or really bad. And we already talked about Fifita a little bit, and how the guy is really good through the air. They have talented wide receivers. Who are you expecting to kind of rise to the top on the defensive end of the ball? Because Syed Gibbs, he's going to be out for the first half. So we're going to have somebody kind of, step up in that secondary, right? So who are you expecting on the defensive end to be able to step up and cause disruption?
Yeah, so, I'll push back a little bit. First of all, the defense did look really good. However, West Virginia are really bad.
West Virginia is really bad. Yes, you're right.
UCF also really bad.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
but
more importantly, like the goal line stand.
Yeah, that was very
hard
impressive. UCF could have called some better plays, I think.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. I think honestly, Kansas is a playmaker defense at this point, where like it's not a defense where you're gonna leave them out there for 55 plays and you're just gonna hope they can get stops consistently. It's a defense where you're like, all right, Bengali's going to need to bust the line and get, a 6-yard loss or a sack here. Someone's going to need to force a fumble. We're going to need one of those 3 per game Austin Alexander, like godly run fit plays.
Right.
Where, and then he whiffs to 4 other tackles or whatever it is. But, it's like, So yeah, Kansas is going to need 3 guys to make plays,
Yeah.
and that'll swing the momentum, and then you hope your offense can control the clock, control the ball, and keep it rolling, and you'll get there.
With Dean Miller, we're seeing a lot more of him dropping back into coverage, right? Which I think DK talked about this. We actually heard from DK earlier on in the show, talking about how, with a guy with a lighter body like that, he's able to do it. But Dean Miller hasn't been getting to the quarterback as much as he did from last year. Talk about the defensive end room, because the defensive end room was something that we talked about all offseason about. These guys are going to be monsters, right? We got Justice Finkley coming over from Texas. He's already a leader on that defense, right? You got Dean Miller. We didn't even talk about Leroy Harris, who is probably the best out of all of them, right? So with that defensive end room, I guess just kind of a weird question, but like, what do they need to do in order to get past them? Because their offensive line, Arizona's, is huge, right? So it's going to be hard to get pressure on Fafita. How can these guys get pressure on Fafita?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, it starts from inside, right? Where
Yeah.
you lose as defensive ends if they can throw doubles at you every time. You
Yeah.
know, if the guard can chip in and help, or if the back is free to chip in and help because there's no interior pressure, or there's nobody pushing the pocket, then you're already operating at a loss. Yeah, I think, will the real Dean Miller stand up has been a question all year,
Yeah.
because he's not been good.
Yeah.
You can say that pretty clearly and straight up. I think Leroy Harris has been pretty exceptional.
For sure. He had 5
And
tackles, TFL, block
it's
kick in the
kind of
last game.
crazy that he's playing so many special team snaps when he's like, such a good option. And then I think if Finkley can also make some plays, and then if you can, here's the other secret to defensive end, is that you can get Bengali Kamara rushing off that edge.
Yeah.
And that can make a lot of plays happen, and a lot of things go right for you.
I think so. I think Bengali Kamara is a lot better rushing than he is in coverage, because I remember heading into, I believe it was the K-State game, he was targeted 13 times and 12 of those were catches.
Yeah.
So Bengali, obviously not the best in coverage, but whenever he is in those run fits, whenever he does get pressure, the guy's a monster,
Yeah.
right? And some guys have, specific things that they're used to. Looking forward to the next 3 games, obviously you have Arizona, and then you have Iowa State, and then Friday after Thanksgiving, you have Utah. Iowa State, not as good as we thought. Utah, maybe better than we thought, right? Utah looks really good, especially as of late. If Kansas doesn't, hypothetically, if Kansas doesn't win against Arizona, out of the 2 games, I guess, do you think that's an added pressure of just getting to a bowl game for these guys? Because they want, at this point, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for that next win to get to a bowl game. That's all they need in order to, because that's the one accolade that Jalen Daniels doesn't have. He has the stats to back it up. He wasn't able to beat Mizzou, wasn't able to beat K-State. He doesn't have a bowl win under his belt. So you have to think that that's something in the back of JD's mind of like, I need to get this. Out of those 3 games, which do you see Kansas most likely to win?
Arizona feels like kind of the natural one.
Sure.
I think Iowa State, like night game, Jack Trice, all that type of stuff. However, Kansas has actually been pretty good against Iowa State as of late.
They have been.
And
They have their number.
They're kind of like an issue, even when Iowa State's been good, which I think they're really struggling. And then that Utah game on Black Friday, man, it could be a spoiler game. I'm gonna give you an over under 20,500 people. How many people do you think are gonna be there?
That's a great. So like the students are going to be.
Students are going to be gone.
Students
I
are
will
gonna
be there.
gone.
The Hooke
You'll
family will be
all
there.
right. Hey, fair enough.
My parents are coming.
Your
in for
parents are coming
Thanksgiving.
down. Oh, look at
First
that.
time ever going to a Kansas
all the way down
football game.
from the wintry hills of Vermont.
Right on, yeah.
Nice. Look at you. Man, shout out to the Hooke family. Over under 20,500, you said?
Yeah, half full basically.
I'll go over. I think that they get 28.
Okay.
I think I think that's going to be a lot of, like, there's going to be a lot of families around the area, I think, who are going to be like, all right, we had Thanksgiving yesterday, KU plays today, let's go. Why not? You know what I mean? So I think they'll go over for sure. It is always challenging, especially around the holidays. I mean, you're going to run into that, right? We see that even with Kansas basketball, weirdly enough, is that, you'll see like regular fans in the student section because the students are gone for winter break over that December to January kind of stretch. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be a fun one for sure. Devin Dampier looks really,
he's nice.
really, really good. So
And I mean, you want to talk about Kansas defensive line? That Utah offensive line.
right. No, I know they're unbelievable. So that'll be a lot of fun. For sure. Kansas kicking off against Arizona. That's going to be this weekend. You can hear coverage of that on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ben, appreciate you coming in, man. Let the people know what you got coming up. Any interesting articles that you're working on and any pieces that you're working on. Just let people know where they can find your stuff too.
Kansan.com, we've got our awesome sports team. Because I would say, I'm a part of it, right? I do a column. I do game coverage. I've got some stuff in the works. Kansas Athletics. Can I get an interview with Genu Gala? Thank you. But yeah, I would
GSA. He's G Gala. I love people love that.
Well, I want to talk to his coach in Canada and see because obviously I'm half Canadian. I've got citizenship.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, no, it's a little connection for me. But yeah, no, I would say I'm just a part of it. We've got an awesome team. Some really, really great writers. We cover every KU sport. So we've got coverage of Kansas soccer, which by the way, playing for the Big 12 championship this weekend.
That's right.
Kansas.
We didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
Kansas volleyball, Kansas women's basketball, and then of course football, basketball.
Yeah.
Stories, staff picks. We've got our awesome predictions panel, which does it every week. We're coming down to the home stretch for who's going to win. So yeah, read the column. That's all free to access right there at kansan.com. Check it out.
Check it out. Kansan.com. Ben Hooke does great stuff with them. Ben, appreciate it. Also, if you ever need to know anything about serial bear attacks, Ben got you. So
I know things about a lot of things.
He knows things about a lot of things. Ben, appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk soon.
Right on.
All right. After this, we're going to be hearing from a couple of Kansas football players, Marcus Calvin and Dean Miller. Right after this on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Hey, got a chance to talk to KU defensive end Marcus Calvin. Got his first tackle of his career against Oklahoma State. Really exciting stuff. So let's hear everything Marcus had to say right now.
I guess first of all, what was it like getting your first career sack?
Honestly, it felt like a dream come true. It's like one of the moments where you always imagining and you always have this vision of you doing something great, and then when it finally happens, you know what I'm saying, after a lot of trials and tribulations, it's like one of them ones, it's like a woo-saw moment. So it finally happened, and I was very blessed for it to happen.
I guess generally speaking, what's it been like adapting to playing more this season?
Honestly, just trying to get in and not change up the floor of the game. Come in and bring the energy and finish off where whoever came out left at, you feel me? So I don't want to come in and the energy go from here to here or the execution go from here to here. I just want to come in and keep the team rolling.
For a long time, the D tackles have talked about being the engine of the defense, and you mentioned the energy. I guess at this point in the season, how well do you feel like you guys overall have done in that role?
Honestly, we have areas we can work at in that role, but I feel like we've been trying to accept that role, and we did a good job being more intentional, trying to bring joy, try to bring the energy, and try to be positive all around the team in every room and stuff like that.
Your snaps have really increased over the last couple weeks. What do you feel like you've done in practice to earn those reps?
Honestly, just keep practicing hard, sticking to the routine, trusting my coach and my teammates, and honestly just being a sponge. You know what I'm saying? I see my teammates out there go out there, make great plays, and they're not they're not selfish players. So they come to the sideline and they give out any knowledge they have. So I just be sitting there jotting down, and whenever my time comes, whatever my numbers get called, I'm gonna answer it.
What do you see from Arizona's offensive line and their offense?
Big offensive line, very physical. I would say they're very well mannered, and they're like one big system. They all do everything together. I would say they're very organized, very talented, just ready to play physical. I just feel like they're gonna play very physical. They show a lot of physicality on tape and stuff like that. So we just ready to play some big football.
After the sack, you had the celebration.
Yes, sir.
Was that planned? What was that like?
No, it wasn't planned. Ironically, I was doing the dance before the game though, but it was just one of the moments I didn't have no dance to do. And I heard Blake. I was in the game with Blake. Blake got in the sack right after me, and he was telling me, just do it. I'm like, I knew it. I already knew what he was talking about, so I just bring out a dance.
Have you found anybody that can beat you in one-on-one on basketball yet?
Oh, absolutely not. Well, Jaden Nichols, you know what I'm saying? Him, that doesn't count though. That doesn't count. Everybody besides him, I feel like they're fried. Besides We got some very talented basketball players. You know who also is very good? Coutwright McDaniels is a hooper. I'm not gonna lie, he's a hooper. But probably out of them two, I feel like I'm good with anybody else.
You and Blake obviously are in the same recruiting class. What's it been like to be able to go out there and play alongside him, and for both you guys to have success?
It's honestly like a whole 360, like coming in as young bucks, and then Blake actually played earlier than me. Like he played last year, so like watching him go out there was like a being happy feeling for my brother type thing. And now I'm on the field with him is like a whole 360. Cause we used to have a lot of talks about when we go out there and when it's gonna be our time to play together and have fun and stuff like that. But being able to create and share memories like this is amazing.
Did it motivate you too that Blake was out there last year?
Absolutely. And honestly, like it was so exciting watching him play, because like Blake is like one of the most humble people ever. He's not like, you know what I'm saying, he's not cocky and nothing like that. He come to work every day, and you know what I'm saying, he put his body and his life on the line at every play with 100% effort. And that's a player I like watching to, you know what I'm saying, to motivate me, because if you just watch his motor and watch how he go about things on the field, it's just like he's just a dude at all times. So like it was very motivational and inspirational, to be honest with you, watch Blake out there do his thing at a young age.
You guys as a defensive tackle group, you're asked to do a lot, right? Different scheme stuff. Like, what's it like playing different roles within the same game and the same game plan?
Honestly, it could be confusing at sometimes, but that's where, luckily, we have a lot of experience in this room. So now, instead of me having to deal with it by myself, I can go ask the players that's very experienced with this, because, like, you know what I'm saying, even though they've been through a couple different coaches, they seen similar schemes or something like that, so they're very able to put it in simpler terms and dummy it down sometimes for me.
Who's the guy you go to the most?
Honestly, it'll probably be DJ Withers and Tommy Dunn, but Blake is very, like, every teammate, honestly, I can go to, but like it's just Tommy and DJ, they just know so much because they just been through different schemes and they can put stuff together really fast. So like they'll see a play and be like, oh, it remind me of this play, and they'll tell me that and I'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You feel me? So
Appreciate it, man.
Marcus, everyone talked about how you didn't have a barbell in your high school weight room. What did you do in high school to kind of supplement for that? Or did you do a lot of working out in high school, I guess?
Well, to be honest with you, we tried to establish like a functional strength conditioning program in my school, but sadly it just didn't work out the way we wanted to. But honestly, I was just doing a lot more field work, and I didn't have all the knowledge that I needed to know at the time, but I didn't really have too many strength and conditioning programs or go through anything like that when I was younger. I was just doing so much football, so when I got here, it felt like every lift felt new. Like even bench, like some things I never heard before when I was doing bench. The more similar workouts are also like confusing to me sometimes. But other than that, it was just like a whole change. Like I didn't really do nothing. So when I came here, it was like I thought I was so fast, so quick, so strong here. Then I was like, no, you gotta get stronger here. So and then what really did it to me is really when like the other, every body part needs to be touched. Like I didn't know you gotta work out on your neck, you gotta work out on your hammy, you gotta work out on your toes, on your ankles and stuff like that. So all that different things really kind of like blew my head up. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Did it help you, do you think, doing that field work first and then getting the strength later?
Absolutely. I feel like it was very easier to understand some of the stuff that was being said on the field. Like Coach P was giving coaching cues, and I didn't seem like as if it was my first time hearing it. But on the other hand, in the weight room, it felt literally like completely different. Like somebody told me something, like I literally needed them to like sit here and like do the reps so I can see it type thing. And I also had to like pretty much aggravate Chula and our old strength coach used to be named Bessie and Blaine. So I just aggravate them, getting here extra, get more work with them, extra hours, and then that's how I really got used to doing all the lifts like that.
That was KU defensive tackle Marcus Calvin talking to the media, talking about how, didn't have a barbell in his weight room in high school. I'm sure you guys have heard that maybe a million times, but I thought it was interesting to know that, instead of doing that, he did a lot of field work as well. And I think the field work definitely helped, and then he kind of got the strength later. So I think it kind of gave him a step up. Also noted Hooper, Marcus Calvin. Hey, right now, going to hear from KU defensive end Dean Miller as he was made available to the media. Let's hear everything that Dean had to say right now.
Regardless, the fans show out and they do their thing, and we hear them and we feel them.
Hey, Coach DK talked a little bit about how you guys drop into coverage as defensive ends. What's that been like learning to play the pass and things?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little different, but I feel like it's definitely something that I'm still pretty comfortable with. I feel like I'm a pretty athletic defensive end, so working in space isn't something that throws me off. I feel pretty comfortable doing that.
How would you describe how the season's gone overall for you so far?
I mean, I feel like regardless of whatever the stats say, I'm always going to be looking for more. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I have 2 sacks or 20 sacks, just as I was raised as an athlete. Never be satisfied, always be hungry, and always just looking to take that next step.
What do you see from Arizona's offensive line and their offense?
Oh, they definitely have a lot of good offensive linemen, especially that left tackle. Definitely a potential NFL guy. Looking at someone like their quarterback, Noah Fafita. It's a guy I'm pretty familiar with. Played in the high school out in Southern California, so definitely a fan of his game, and I can respect what he's doing with his offense.
What separates, in your mind, an NFL tackle from just a solid college player?
It's a good question. I would say a big thing is the IQ, like their IQ level, knowing how to pick up and read defenses, knowing what looks they're getting, how to pass off games and stunts that a defense is running. That could set them apart. Besides, of course, being more physically dominant than maybe someone who isn't.
Curious for you, we've seen you play a lot. It's like a four down defensive end. Now you're playing someone like a fifth or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
What's the difference between those two?
I would say it's a little bit of a different mentality. Obviously, when I'm in a 4-down front, rushing off the edge as a true defensive end, maybe a little more hand in the ground. You're working with less space, so the offensive tackle gets on you a little faster. So just knowing how to use your hands and being strong at the point of attack versus when you're working in more space, you have a little more time to think about what you want to do. And also, it's all about setting up your offensive lineman, trying to see what he's doing and get him to dictate his set, stuff like that.
Are you comfortable playing in space like that? DK, Coach G kind of talked about wanting to do that for you. Are you comfortable doing that?
Yeah, 100%. As I was saying, I feel like I'm an athletic defensive end, edge rusher, so I feel like that's something that definitely it doesn't throw me off. I'm comfortable playing in space.
What have you seen from Leroy so far this year?
Leroy, that's a strong, athletic guy. I feel like he brings a lot of value to the defense. He's a versatile guy. I feel like just like myself, you could drop him into coverage and you could also rush him off the edge and he can cause some havoc.
What were your first impressions of him, and has he surprised you at all, or is he the same kind of guy?
I mean, I knew when he came in, he was a hard worker. He just puts his head down and work. He's very attentive in the classroom when we're watching film. But I feel like he's just continued to take steps and grow in this program, both in the weight room, physically and mentally.
You guys are at 5 wins. What are the conversations like? I mean, I know it's going to be, next game up, next man up, that type of thing. But any conversations with your teammates or the coaches about, the importance of going to Arizona and getting this one?
I mean, sure. Obviously, it's all about taking that next step. And for us, it's becoming bowl eligible, getting that 6th win. Coach Leipold, we always talk about just taking it one game at a time. So we're not really looking any past Arizona this week, but just taking it one game at a time and just trying to maximize our opportunities with the games we have left.
Yeah, playing against Oklahoma State, where you kind of ran a guy down from behind and had a big hit.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, I mean, I saw him throw the ball, just how I play. I like swarming to the ball, rallying, trying to support my guys. He made a cut inside, kind of ran right into me. That worked out pretty well. Yeah.
What do you guys have to do? This might be more of a question for a coach, but to win, to beat Arizona, what do you guys have to do defensively?
I would say just be disciplined, do your job. If there's a gap you got to be in, stay there. Have clean eyes, clean feet, clean hands. Make sure. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, just doing your job, doing your 1-11, playing 11 as one, and it'll work out in your favor.
In terms of getting takeaways, Coach DK was talking about just attacking the ball more. What kind of role can you guys have off the edge to kind of create that havoc and get some extra possessions?
Sure. I mean, the defensive line and the secondary play hand in hand. I mean, us putting pressure on the quarterback and make the quarterback throw, make little errors and things like that. And then just to reverse that, if secondary locking stuff down, it gives us more time to attack that quarterback. So, just playing off of each other, feeding off each other's energy, and just playing complementary football.
And how about in the defensive end room in general? Like, what are you guys talking about in terms of improving? What needs to happen for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking a lot about putting pressure on that quarterback, getting off that edge, and when we have our opportunities, we need to make it. You know, no wasted movements, no wasted steps. If there's an open gap, you need to hit it right away. You know, just maximize the opportunities you have every play.
You mentioned Fafita a little bit. What makes him such a good quarterback, in particular? Elusiveness, obviously, and a confident guy who's played for a while.
Of course. I mean, you look at someone like Kyler Murray in the NFL, I'd say that's a pretty good player comparison. Someone who can definitely throw it down the field. He's accurate in all aspects, short, medium, long range. He's comfortable with his receiving core, but also his feel in the pocket, I feel like, is what separates him. He knows how to work around his offensive linemen, move in the pocket, and he's a crafty guy. You know, he can make plays on his feet, extend plays, roll out, whatever he's got to do. So it's going to be all about just keeping him contained and, you know, keeping him in the pocket.
What have you seen from Dak Brinkley recently? It seems like we've heard his name a little bit more often. Obviously, he's on an ascent.
Yeah, no, 100%. Dak's the guy that's continued to develop from the second he stepped in this program, and especially this year, taking a lot of steps, even more so in the most recent games, just trying to making a name for himself and continuing to just get better every single day.
That was Kansas defensive end Dean Miller addressing the media a little earlier in the week. By the way, stay tuned because we got J School Jayhawks with Emma Noble and Dean Miller as well. We'll play on tomorrow's show. Hey, after this, Thursday Night Football game picks, Raiders, Broncos, AFC West. Big time matchup. After this, KansasNation.com, ESPN, Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. As well as ESPN Kansas City. Got to get to these quick. Thursday Night Football game picks. Raiders at the Broncos. Love the Broncos on this line. It's 9.5. Raiders stink. Give me the Broncos. Give me Brock Purdy, by the way, over 3 touchdowns through the air. I like Ashton Genty to score here too. Over unders 42.5. Love the over on that one as well. Shout out to Elijah Schmidt for running the operations here at the Kansas Nation Studios. Thank you guys for listening as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City.